If you were the type of person that kept dying over and over and over again on this simple boss, then you might need a little bit of help. Well, allow me to help you defeat the Nameless Puppet, one of the hardest boss fights in the whole game. Now, can I point out, before we get anywhere, yes, you are going to need a build for it, but today we're going to be concentrating on the motivity build. Now, I am going to point out, when I show you this build, shout out to one of fellow creator who managed to find this build. I will leave a link in the description for you to check out. This is the build I used to defeat this boss, and it works wonders. And the best part about this boss, you can phase skip the first boss. It's really simple to do. Now, without any hesitation, let's dive right into it. Now, in this part of the video, I'm going to talk about the main fight itself. I'm going to teach you how to do it, and then towards the end of the video, we're going to look at the build itself. I like to class it as an S tier build, which basically means it's going to do a lot of damage in the space of 2 hits, maybe especially with your Fable. But let's dive right into the main fight. Okay, so for this fight, I was using the big wrench head, I remember correctly, and I was using the Fable with it. I also was using the electro grindstone with the puppet string, but as you'll see in this video, I never used it once, but I used it just in case. Anyway, so how does this work? Well, this die has 2 phases. The first phase is slightly slow, but this bit, you need to make sure your timing is spot on. Every perfect dodge is going to help you in this fight. Why may you ask? Because every time when you get hit, or when you do an unsuccessful glide, you're not gonna do enough damage, and he will rinse you, depending on how quick your health is, or how high your health is. Now, the trick is, you need to make sure you're on time with your dodging, again, and the idea is, we want to try and get him into a crit as quick as possible, because look at that, the damage there straight away. Now, I decided to use the Fable on the second bit, and you'll see exactly why, but you can use it on the first bit. However, it's advised if you do it on the second bit. So let's quickly talk about the second bit of the fight. Now, this fight is a lot harder. The reason why is a lot faster. So there's a little trick I like to call the L1 spam. Basically, what we're doing is, in this trick, we're going to constantly dodge every fast attack. And look at that, 4k damage, and we've already stunned them. But this is why we do the L1 dodge. Now, his attacks are very quick. It's practically impossible, I'd say personally, to get a very successful hit on this die. So, what do? Well, every time you see a combination of patterns, we're going to constantly spam L1. Why do we spam L1, you may ask? That's because we're guaranteed a perfect glide. We don't have to be on time with it, we don't have to be spot on with it, but this perfect glide trick will help you a lot. The only time it won't work is if you see a fury attack, or if you see a very dangerous attack that comes up. Now, if you do it on a fury attack, you are guaranteed death, so don't do it, right? Just try and be consistent with the L1 dodge. And how many hits you should get per boss is entirely up to you, but ideally you want to be going for 1 or 2 hits. You don't want to be going for any more. And because we've done that many perfect dives, we've actually done them into a stun, which we finish them off like this. Boom, there we go. Now again, very crucial, just be very careful with this fight. After you get them in the stun, you will try and explode on there, like do an explosion, and just avoid that. But that's it, simple as that. Now, like I said, this fight was pretty hard, but as mentioned before, let me go over how to do the builds that I was talking about at the start of the video. Okay, so for this weapon in particular, as mentioned before, we are using the big pipe wrench head. I recommend you get this to max. The reason why is because you're going to maximize your damage, and you're going to do a lot of damage in a few hits, maybe 1 or 2 hits. In terms of the handle, we're using the just a big pipe wrench handle, as you can see right there, attached to the weapon. Now, here is the big bit. You want to make sure your motivity is at least 40. It doesn't matter about technique, it doesn't matter about advance. The reason why is because when you apply a motivity crank onto this, you are guaranteed to do more damage. As for the build itself, I'm level 79, but ideally you want to be at least level 70 for this fight. I use 24 vitality, 21 vigor, 17 capacity, Motivity 39, Technique 11, Advanced 6. Ideally, in terms of amulets as well, it's your choice what you use, but for me personally, I like to use the Leaping Amulet +1, Puppet Destroyer Amulet, which is going to do more damage to puppets, Patience Amulet, and the Carrier's Amulet, just to get a little bit away. This one you could probably change for something else if you don't use like many weapons like myself, but this is ideally what you want to use. And in terms of the grindstone, we're going to be using the Electric Blitz grindstone, which temporarily applies electric to your weapon, and because he's a puppet, you can do weapon electric damage on this weapon. And also, if you want, grab yourself some Fable Catalysts to apply damage to the actual Fable weapon. Let's quickly talk about the P organ. So when we click on the P organ, this is what I've done for. You don't need phase 5. You have to have phase 5 unlocked at least, but you don't need it for this fight at all. Now, I use Link Dodge with Charge Stacker and Damage while dodging, Increased Pulse Cells with Stacker Duration and Pulse Cell Recovery, and Fable Attacks, Throwing Obsession Possession Limit for the stackable window. The second one, I use an amulet slot with stamina consumption and grindstone effects, and I use some pulse cell with damage of charge attacks and fable arts and enhancing weapon attacks. Basically, you can just have a look. These are what I use. Check them out. Apply them to your build if you want to. But I'll pause the video anytime and have a look at these for yourself. And that's it. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. This is how to defeat the Nameless puppet. Now, I am going to point out, I will leave the link in the description to the guys that helped me with this fight. Couldn't have done it without them. So if I were you, go check out their guides. They probably have a better guide than me, and they might have something for the build that you want to apply to your build. So it doesn't matter about the P organs, it doesn't matter about the weapon choice. Just go with what you think works. Now, I am going to point out, if you are struggling to farm earlier, or if you are struggling to look for resources in this game, because resources are a huge factor, check out the video that I'm going to display right now. Get yourself access to that video, have a watch of it, it'll hopefully help you. But yeah, I'm going to end it here. I know this was a bit of a long video, but I just thought I'd try and upload one just to help you out with this fight, because this fight was the hardest. I looked online, most of the fights are pretty tough. They don't really give explanation, so hopefully I've tried to explain it, and hopefully you've learned something from this fight. As always, thanks for watching, good luck with the fight. Check out the playlist for all the Liza P boss fights I've done in the past, and like I say, check out the farming, ergo and resources video. Get yourself some free ergo, get yourself some resources, and yeah, it'll help you massively with this fight.